This Manual Plus item is designed to supplement the WGI Adjudication Manual and Rulebook for intended use by WGI judges, WGI's circuit partners, and their judge associations. One of the primary keys to recognition and reward is the judge's ability to sample. As color guards work to reinvent the language of our activity, judges are challenged with new formats and configurations. Long gone are the days when staging was driven by the pure function of displaying a progression of skills. Staging has its own choreographic voice, with more groups considering form, body, and equipment all at the same time in the initial stages of the design process. Because of this, equipment and movement focal points are as likely to happen in the back corner as they are front and center, and performers working towards the same skills are likely to be 8 to 12 steps apart and displaced in time sequentially or even in random order. This not only challenges sampling, but also our ability to assess proofs of achievement. Because displacing time lengthens the phrase, many times we still sample the first couple of performers and work on assumption as to the ability and achievement of all of the individuals working on the same skill. This pattern of leaving the phrase early can go two ways. A judge might have difficulty reading in this more challenging environment and simply choose to ignore the skill or phrase and thereby not give reward to this contributing effort to the group's vocabulary and achievement. The other potential risk is that a judge can take the high achievement of the initial members and assume the rest, thereby missing a vulnerability of the unit needed for the comparative process. Though the units might be a little more willing to accept the second option, both of these situations are actually a disservice to the unit and don't reflect the group's performance. To gain a full understanding of the challenge and the achievement, judges are asked to read through the phrase. In this video, we'll explore a simple short rifle phrase performed by the members of the low-budget rifle quartet. I'm close to all these guys and they work for free. We'll watch this phrase in different time settings and give you opportunities to process and discuss between performances. Hit pause and replay as much as you want. Okay, here we go. Given the extreme displacement in time, consider these questions. Here are the same four performers in the same order with the time displacement minimized a bit. Also, you're going to see all four together, which means they'll appear farther. Though the proximity was a bit more difficult, consider the closer initiations. Now we'll look at only two of the four performers, so they'll appear to be closer, with the same time displacement. You should have a pretty good accounting for what skills are in the phrase, and given that we were only looking at two performers, your comparison should be slightly easier. If not, discuss why. If it was, compare the two performers. Remember, you can replay if you want. Now commit to the comparison you remember, and here are the same two performers with no time displacement at the initiation. Make a quick note of excellence and commit to a second comparison. Was your initial comparison of the two performers confirmed? Was your assessment in the displaced setting reflective of your assessment with the start times matched? Or did you add to your list? When considering the time displaced comparison, how much of that initial comparison was focused on method versus timing? Can you see them together? Let's watch these two again in slow motion for the direct comparison. Find out why the black hat falls behind but is somehow able to throw early. Here you see what you may have suspected earlier. You have proof of the inconsistencies between the performers. In the displaced setting, you find yourself suspecting, gathering evidence, and then ultimately assembling your assessment. In the matched settings, you see proof. Here are all four in this matched setting. There's some but not complete agreement on the movement. You actually see some performers switching the order of components. Besides some weight shifts and position issues, you have a runajam that in two cases rotates on the supporting foot, actually creating a turn. But the degree of rotation in that turn is accidental at best. These guys certainly aren't the best in terms of range and commitment, but there is enough information to complete the study. For the new DA guys, we would hope that you are working to see the inconsistencies in equipment and movement as well. This is your year for it. Your window into the movement issues is through your understanding of space and direction. Those are your first clues that fit into your particular propensities. Equipment is ultimately impacted by the same directions in facing and is more easily seen by you in shifts of visual presence, the aspect of equipment that initially connects it as an element of design. You studied that insight in a relationship in 2010. In this quick study of four people, see if you can take a step in identifying more specific issues beyond the gateways we discussed. Equipment, you have some initial factors of position sense and weight. Then it's flow and dexterity with the roll over the hand, the wristy catch into the thumb pull, and then ultimately the simple setup that gets you into a small consideration of strength in the standard triple. Orange and red are the closest, with some space-related issues and that issue with the behind-the-back thing, with black being, let's say, more confident than skilled, and green struggling with the thumb pull, impacting timing throughout the entire phrase. Let's watch them all together one more time, and then follow that up with the original study to see if you can track some of these issues. If you're splitting this video between two sessions, this is your best pause point. In order to calibrate our awareness, let's take a second and isolate the phrase with just one performer. Ask yourself as you watch, what are the key markers of the phrase? Call them out or make a list of the ones that pop out to you. The obvious ones are the starts and stops and the big toss, and obviously the catch of the toss. But you likely listed items that have a change in visual presence or a shift in dynamics. We're going to watch again, and this time, besides the toss, pick only 2 or 3 markers to focus on for later. Now make a note and really commit to the markers you've chosen. Now we're going to watch 2 identicals in unison. What I'd like you to do is focus on your markers you've chosen as you watch them both. I'm going to ask you to take a little leap with me. Looking at this wallpaper sample, you'll see this kind of scattering of poppies. What I want you to do is scan the full frame and pick one of the poppies. Because I'm not there with you, I'm going to pick. Now take your attention to this single poppy. Work to keep your field of vision inside the blue circle. Focus first on the black eye of the poppy. Then really focus on the light pink haircut at the top, and then the tiger striped beard. Then the dark red lower petal of the poppy. Take all of these elements in: the eye, the haircut, tiger striped beard, and the dark red lower petal. Keep your focus on the center eye of the poppy. Move up to the haircut and then gradually to the top petal, and look at right where the edge of the top petal meets the cream-colored background. Keep your focus on this background as the other poppies start to reveal themselves. As you stay looking at that point, eventually you'll see the duplicate poppies come into view. Did you find them? Are you able to locate the duplicate poppies without sampling each individual poppy? Did you get them both? Now remind yourself of those choreographic markers as we review the rifle phrase, again looking at 2 identicals. Focus on your markers. In the same way that the identical poppies revealed themselves, stay focused on your choreographic markers as we go into this new time setting. Were you able to track your chosen markers throughout the phrase? What we've done is we're in the initial stages of calibrating your ability to find like elements. And once you're able to find and ultimately record those like elements, you then start being aware of patterns. You've been looking at patterns behind the title screen for this video since the beginning. Sometimes the patterns are easy to see, and sometimes they're a bit more convoluted. In the same way that staging format can impact your ability to read through the phrase. The designer may have laid it out simply or tucked it away in a camouflage of chorus. Either way, it's identifying the like elements and then seeing the patterns that's your key to reading through the phrase. Now let's go back to the phrase and recalibrate our ability to find and track those markers. Then we'll take our ability to see pattern and put it to the test in a series of time-displaced environments. Take it a second and remind yourself of those key markers. Remember, don't expand the list. Stick with just the few markers that you're used to seeing. Watch the identicals as your reminder. Now track those key markers. Now let's take our ability to see pattern and expand the scope. Stay focused only on your chosen key elements as we expand further. Were you able to maintain your patterns? Let's go one last time before we discuss. What did you notice about that last run? Did you know it was the original samples without seeing the hats? Because orange and red are so close, you likely didn't notice until we got inside the phrase of the black and green performers. If you notice the split in method and then ultimately the split in direction or facing within the orange and red, kudos to you. You're on your game. If not, even if all you noticed was a lack of ease, something different, something changed from the time before, you're in the initial stages of being able to read through the phrase and see these notable differences. The ability to establish and follow pattern will not come easily to all. Instructors for sure have an intuitive advantage, but this is a learned skill and can be established and developed through practice. You're already on your way. Your ability to reward is in direct proportion to your ability to read through the phrase and to recognize the full challenge and ultimately the achievement of the effort. When looking to reward for the full achievement of the phrase, ask yourself, did you see any evidence? Did you see strong evidence? Did you see convincing evidence? Or did you see proof? Your ability to see is in direct correlation to your ability to reward. Designers will constantly challenge our ability to see, but your obligation doesn't stop at the obvious any more than does theirs. An audience proxy judge may passively choose the options of ignoring or assuming, but these hiding places are no longer acceptable options for the informed observer, you, the judge. To finish, here are the samples we used today in a progression of time displacements, with the original 4 performers, that's orange, red, black, and green, followed by the control group of identicals. Use these to track your markers and then to build your awareness and ultimately expand your list of markers until you're eventually able to see more. First, let's look at the phrase to establish our list of markers. Remember, don't add to the list until you've gone through all of the displacement settings. Next, reinforce those chosen elements by seeing the phrase in a unison setting with 2 identicals. Now let's put our ability to track these like elements to the test as we watch our original 4 with variables and the like identicals in different time displaced settings. Remember, you are gathering evidence towards proof to the degree of achievement. Once you feel confident with your list of markers, go back to the beginning of the self-guided section and add to your list. I'll work to get you more samples up on the educational player as we approach the season.